Black Power.
Black Power.
My name is Chawn Castro Kweli of the New Black Panther Party. I'm the National Minister for Information. I'm here today to interview the National Chief of Staff, Chawn Kweli.
Thank you so much.
And we definitely want to get some information about what's going on with the New Black Panther Party and what the goals and objectives are and whatever is going on and just different things that, we've been getting a lot of inboxes and a lot of emails in regards to wanting to join, and viewers really want to know what's going on. So I have a couple of questions I want to ask, and this is just via inboxes.
Okay.
One of the first questions that they asked would be, what's the national chairman's name of the Black Panther Party?
That's a great question. Many of you know that we have had a change in chairmanship as Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz. His term ended in November 2013, and so his selection of national chairman went to a man who served with him for 12 years, his full 12-year term of his chairmanship. A man who like I know, was the former National Chief of Staff for this organization, for him and Dr. Khalid Muhammad, and Dr. Khalid Muhammad's national assistant, come up out of Dallas, Texas, with the group called MIAT, the Metropolitan African American Think Tank, there with Professor Sims and other greats, and they were working with Tony Martin and Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Mr. Farrakhan's, of course, Dr. Khalid Muhammad's. His name is Hashim Nzinga, Minister Hashim Nzinga. We call him the General, Minister Hashim Nzinga. He is the national chairman of the New Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. He is the selection of our previous chairman and now chairman emeritus, Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz, and he's doing an excellent job. A man that is well qualified for the position, a man that's dedicated to the work, a man that has a track record of being a staunch revolutionary and liberation force for our people. He's sincere in the effort. He's sincere in raising institutions for our people with schools and businesses, and bringing our people to some form of economic solvency. And he has established and worked to establish the first national base of the New Black Panther Party, or national headquarters of the New Black Panther Party, in Atlanta, Georgia. And so the national chairman of the New Black Panther Party is Minister Hashim Nzinga.
Okay, well, you did mention the chairman emeritus. Could you break that down for those that do not understand that concept?
Certainly. Chairman emeritus comes from a term of position, where, like, if you have someone who, say, for example, was a president at a university, okay, or in some kind of institution, and their time in office has expired, they take the position of emeritus, meaning that they're always honored as a chairperson or a great leader. They're just not serving in the position. The USA, the United States of America, does it in the sense of always keeping a president a president. They may not be in office, or most certainly are not at that point in office, but they're always honored as presidents. They're always given the full executive protection. Their families given executive protection because of the office that they held, and because of the knowledge that they know. And it's the same thing with chairmen who are in the New Black Panther Party, that they are always honored here as heroes and sheroes, and always honored as people who help to carry this mission forward. And so we honor them as chairman emeritus, and they serve as guidance. They serve as historians. In Attorney Shabazz's case, serve as legal counsel. In his case, also spiritual counsel. And so we will always honor those who served in this mission and who ascended to the highest office of this organization, which is national chairman, and they become chairman emeritus.
Okay, and here's the thing. I've also gotten, inboxes in regards to there being a lot of other Panther groups. What are your thoughts on that?
I think we should have it. I'm not against it. I mean, the Panther belongs to the people. In specific, for the audience, the Panther belongs to Black people.
Okay. I'm sorry.
And so, a Panther's born every few seconds in the ghetto, and it's not logical to think that every single Panther that's born will fall up underneath the same formation or have the same kind of ideas. And so we understand that, unfortunately, through the FBI's onslaught against the Black Panthers of yesterday, that the Panther has been fragmented, and that there are Panther forces that are in different parts of the country and different parts of the world. And in today's time, there are those all the time who, as we do this work, they get inspired and they want to continue to practice. In many other revolutionary movements, there are those who will either continue to practice or they'll break away and do their own thing, but they'll still try to fight in the best way that they can. And so we say to those out there who, may not necessarily be under our leadership, but are fighting the fight and trying to represent the program, continue to represent the program and continue to do good for our people. We're not going to hinder you. We're not going to stop you. We're not going to be in the way, and you, for darn sure, are not going to be in ours. Those of us who are in the new Black Panther Party with our national chairman, General Hashim Nzinga, we're going straight forward. We're going forward with the instructions, about 10-point program, and the instructions that come out from our National Central Committee. We're going forward. We're going to institute Black nationalism in America in a way like it's never been seen before. Black power in America like it's never been seen before. Hope in our people and activity in our people like it's never been seen before. So we're not concerned with who considers themselves different Panther branches. We hope that Panthers spring up all over America. We just want you to be orderly in how you do it. Orderly in how you do it, and don't cause confusion, and everything will be fine.
Okay, so I guess the next question would be, on that very basis of what we're talking about, how do people identify the new Black Panther Party that is associated with the national chairman, Hashim Nzinga? So how do people know, other than him being the chairman, how do people understand where to go if they want to join with us?
Yeah, we're clear that our website is newblackpanther.org. Okay. Newblackpanther.org. And our digital newspaper is featured on newblackpanther.com here soon. And so, as they say, we're not horses, so we're not going to go to the horse's mouth, but you go right to the warrior's mouth, face. Go right to newblackpanther.com and look for those of us who are under the leadership, the bold revolutionary leadership of Minister Hashim Nzinga, students of the Honorable Dr. Khalid Muhammad. You go right to that website, or you call that number 347-903-0886, and you'll get right with us. You don't go to that website or you don't call that number, we can't guarantee you that you'll get us. Okay, the students of the Honorable Dr. Khalid Muhammad. You may get somebody, but I can't guarantee you'll get us. We want you to get us, and we want people to link up with us.
Right, absolutely.
Because we do have a long-standing track record of fighting for our people and doing this work for our people, and we're getting better at it. I want to let everybody in the audience know that we haven't retreated, and that we haven't gotten soft. We've gotten better, in our presentation. The new Black Panther Party is better in its presentation, and we're more mature in our presentation. And so even for some of the things that were done in the past, or some things that were said in the past, or things that we allowed to be misunderstood in the past, we have made corrections. We haven't compromised our principles, but we've made corrections so that the message of what the party really stands for gets across. And so that when Black Panthers of yesterday look at our organization, they don't see confusion, but they see us organizing our people and organizing the people in a way that they could be proud of, or in a way that they would do if they were active in today's time.
That's an interesting concept that you just mentioned. Now, of course, like in dealing with yesteryear and different things that happened that may have been mistakes or growth. Not all mistakes or mistakes, but some were just a pillar of growth and growing pains, as they call it. What is your thoughts upon the National Geographic that they did years ago?
National Geographic inside the new Black Panther
Yes,
Party.
correct.
I hated it, and I think that the audience should know that many of us inside the party hated that. That wasn't a representation of who we were, or who we are. It wasn't a representation of what we're about. I know that that's where many of the sound bites came from, and I know that was what was ran and used in many media outlets as a clip, of what the new Black Panther Party represented. But victory, the old saying goes, victory is normally told by the writers. Victory is told by the writers. And so just as no Christian wants to be judged by some extremist or some extreme quote, just as no true Muslim wants to be judged by an extremist or extreme quotes, the new Black Panther Party cannot be judged or boxed in based upon specific quotes that even, if even were valid, let's say, even if they were valid, or taken out of context, or ill-spoken, or used in an irresponsible manner, So the new Black Panther Party is always represented by its 10-point program. It's represented by official spokespeople, such as yourself, our National Minister of Information, our National Spokeswoman, and others who are appointed to deal with media at specific times. And so if it's not in line with what's in our 10-point program and platform, it's not representative of the new Black Panther Party.
Okay, that's definitely a great explanation of that. But here's another thing. I have received another inbox because a lot of sisters within the Black Power movement in general would like to know about. Obviously, I am one of the leaders within the new Black Panther Party. However, they're not seeing more out front. Could you please explain to them, the representation of the female leadership within our organization? Do we actually have more?
Of course, we have plenty of females, Black women who are in leadership in the organization, and we'll have more. And that's something that in most organizations, especially that are paramilitary, they become heavily male dominated, and that's something that as an organization we are fundamentally against, but having practiced to the best of our ability over the years. Meaning, that we're against sexism, but because many men are groomed sexist in America, we carry the traits. And so this is something that the new Black Panther Party has looked at internally, and something that we're looking at and eradicating within ourselves. And so, as I say, with sisters like yourself, Queen warriors like yourself, and Sister Nadia Shakur, and Sister Chrissy Payne, and Sister Monica Hurley, and others that I could name that are commanding members of this organization. We just have to keep you before the people and let especially black women know that it's okay to be a warrior, you know, in your sisterhood. It's okay to be a freedom fighter. It's okay to, you know, fight a revolutionary struggle without having to fall into a sexist term. Okay. You know, so you'll be seeing much more. The people will be seeing much more from our sisters, from our sister warriors and comrades, and from the black woman in general, because we want black women to struggle in the cause right alongside with the black man, not behind him, you know, or you know, but either next to him, right, or ahead of him, you know. And that same question was asked to Che Guevara during the period of the Cuban Revolution, and his answer was that the sister's goal, the woman's job in revolution is the same as the man's, and the new Black Panther Party takes the same stance. You know, we don't have two separate jobs in terms of making revolution. We may enact it in different ways because the man produces certain characteristics that the woman don't produce or won't produce. And the woman produces certain characteristics or brings certain characteristics that the man won't produce. But that's to work in tandem with each other. You know, that's not to be a separation. That's just to be in tandem with talents to accomplish the goal. So the black woman has to take a prominent role, is taking a prominent role. We just gotta have some more black women that join the organization, that know that their talents won't be suppressed just because they're in the organization, or that just because they're women, and that also can know that you're able to still be yourself and be stylish and still be fancy and fly and all that good stuff, but just not trampy, not hoish, you know, or not other than yourself at the time.
Okay, I have a couple of questions on that level, but in different format and nature. Okay. So when we speak of sexism, because I kind of want to really clarify a deeper way. When you talked about that, and you talked about you brought up the platform of how some of our sisters dress hoish, if you will, if we could use that. That's probably not a word from, but with that, are sisters required to be covered up? You know, are we requiring the sisters to cover up?
We're requiring the sisters to be decent.
Okay. So it's not an Islamic party.
It's not an Islamic party. Okay. I mean, it's a revolutionary party.
Okay.
You know, I mean, fundamentally, we have Muslims in the organization. Mm-hmm. So you will see Muslims represented in the organization, just as well as we have Christians. So you will see Christians that are represented. Mm-hmm. Have Hebrews, and so Hebrews are represented. Have Nubians, so Nubians are represented. We have Rastas, so Rastas are represented. Mm-hmm. Okay, we have Moors, so Moors are represented. We have agnostics, so agnostics are represented. Then we have people that don't believe in none of that. Mm-hmm. And they're just people straight up off of the street, or people who have been in the gang lifestyle and just believe straight up in banging, but they banging on the beast.
That's what I'm talking
You know? So there's no particular one segment or background that makes up a new Black Panther member. There's different segments of men and women that are interested, you know, in this program. Mm-hmm. So everybody's represented and everybody's welcome here mm-hmm. to work out this mission and to do this mission. And so we require the sisters to be decent, and we also require the brothers to be decent as well.
That's important.
And to be dignified, you know, and to be clean. I mean, unfortunately, 2014, you know, you still got to tell people to wash their behinds in some places, you know. Mm-hmm. And so we, you know, just as much want the brother to be as dignified as the sister, you know, smell good, look good, represent good, and to live a good lifestyle. You know, be decent to people, respect those who respect you. regardless. Respect, we respect those who respect us. Somebody disrespect us, we check you. That's a new Black Panther. A new Black Panther is someone who is becoming a new man and a new woman. You're a new African, a new being. You're being transformed through the work, so that you may come in with a slave mentality, a slave mind, a slave ideology, but you're being liberated. And now, as a liberated man or woman, you become a liberator, and you go and free and open the cage for other slaves or new slaves.
Yes, that's fair. So again, now I'm going to ask you this question again, but in a different way.
Okay.
Because we're still on the same subject of women within the organization. So I know that, for a fact that, some of us went to South Africa. But can you tell us some experiences that you did experience with working with the other comrades over there on the terms of sisterhood that you saw within their militarily organization?
Well, I saw that the sisters were required to be revolutionaries. That they were not expected to do anything other than be revolutionaries. Now, what separated them from what I see with many sisters that come up here in America is that, of course, they still have their culture, and they still have their language. So they, act out of certain customs. There's just certain customary things that they do. Like when we were there with ZANU-PF, which is the political formation of President Robert Mugabe, and the comrades offered me a cookie to eat, and I'm like, no, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
That in their culture is a disrespect, because you're supposed to take the cookie because it was offered to you.
Okay.
And eat. And so that was something I learned, So they still have their culture, and they were still, acting within their culture. But they were still respected as revolutionaries. There's another sister there in Zimbabwe who became our Zimbabwe chairman, Sister Mbarika, there in Zimbabwe. And she was someone who fought in what they call the Chimarangas, fought against the colonizer there in what was formerly Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. Respected revolutionary warrior. Okay. And so in looking at how they were handled over there, like I say, they were respected as warriors. But I mean, every people in every nation have their contradictions. So I'm not here to say that it was perfect. I'm not here to say that they always all got along every day. You know what I mean? They had the same issues that people have as human beings. But when it came down to fighting this mission, the sisters were respected the same way as the brothers were.
That's important. Okay, so I'm done with the sisterhood aspect of things right now, but I just really want you to clarify that to the people, because that's very important, and how they're dealt with and coming into the new Black Panther Party at this time under the new leadership. We did kind of discuss a little bit about your South African way, but could you kind of give the viewers who've never been an outlook of your thoughts and how you felt in going there, and once you got there, what you've seen, and just how did it make you feel?
It's like how people treat a baptism.
Okay.
How when someone commits themselves to that kind of life, they're trying to change, or they're transformed. They taking a mental transformation. Excuse me. And any person in America who goes there, I think, will be transformed. Any black person, to be specific, any black person in particular who goes to South Africa, which is known as Azania there, you'll be transformed and revolutionized, because there's an energy there that's on the soil that you don't see anywhere else. An energy and a richness. There's an atmosphere. Okay, like in America, they teach you here that the people over there are savage. They don't have any hospitality. You go over there, it's lawless. You're gonna get robbed. You're gonna get stabbed, killed. But then you go over there, and the people are so hospitable.
Wow.
People getting up early. I'm talking 5 in the morning, going to work. I mean, this is like normal. Up early, hard-working men and women. Others who have their own businesses. You know, like where we stayed. You know, the brother and sister, they had their own business, catering service.
Oh, okay. So y'all should have ate
Yeah,
good then.
we did eat good. And you know, we're living in a mansion. Living in a literal mansion in a Zania. I mean, nice vehicles, you know. And so it was a complete different picture than what was painted here.
Of course.
In the West. I mean, they make you really believe that as you're walking across the street, you're gonna see some elephants and you're gonna see some gazelles, but it's just like being where we were. It's just like being in New York City.
Really?
You know, shops, clothes, trades, hustlers on the street even. You know, all that was there. But even more important, you could see our culture and where we came from. And you could see how we were connected with that, you know. And all the images, most of all the images were black images over there. You know, whereas over here, you're bombarded with white images. Images of the Caucasian.
Yes.
You see over there our people. You see the black faces on their currency.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
You know, some of the currency has our ancestors on it, like Hannibal on it. You know, so you know, many spiritualities require you to make a pilgrimage, and you should make the pilgrimage if that's your belief. But I say beyond a spirituality, all black people in America should make their pilgrimage to the mother continent. Everybody, you know, in understanding what Garvey was talking about, going back to Africa, even though he himself didn't get to make it.
That is a tragedy, isn't it?
We should honor that, and we should go back to Africa and really see where we come from and who we are, because so many of us here have lost our way. We've lost our primary frame of reference of who we really are as a people. And so we've taken on the characteristics of our colonizers, you know, to where in 2014, we really don't need a Ku Klux Klan to lynch us and
exactly
burn us and hang us, you know, and the things that they were doing, because now we've taken the characteristics from, you know, living under that kind of terrorism, and we've become the terrorists to ourselves. So in the same regard, if our culture was reinstituted in us, and our true heritage and history was reinstituted in us, then we would start to come back to ourselves. We would see that we've been duped, and that was something that I really saw as I came through customs and came back into the States. I saw how my people had been duped and lied to, and how we're continuously duped and lied to and fed false information and put in a panic and frenzy, and how our people, black people, are criminalized here in America. I see you can clearly see it once you step outside and then come back. You can see the game and the plans for what it is. So it's a pilgrimage that we must make, you know, and that, you know, I intend to make again, and intend to go to different parts. And for those of us who are in this kind of struggle, it's important to do it for revolutionary reasons as well, to make contacts and, you know, network with the progressives there on the mother continent. You know, to build a true Pan-African network, like what Kwame Ture, formerly Stokely Carmichael, would teach on, to really bridge, you know, the gap, or to really bridge us together, link us together. You remember the old Muhammad Speaks papers used to have the African black man and the African black woman hold hands with the black man and black woman in America interlock. That's a sign of Pan-Africanism. You know, like I said, Garvey and others, the ancestors taught it to us, but we have to fulfill it in today's time. So we got to make that pilgrimage. You have to go back home.
Okay, that's a great breakdown. Well, what is the new Black Panther Party currently involved in?
It's a great question. We've been criticized by elders and some who don't really keep up with what we do as not having programs. And again, that was something that I think was a failed opportunity in that documentary Inside the New Black Panther Party. I think that the brothers and sisters should have done a better job of showing what really is inside the New Black Panther Party. What is it that we really do on a day-to-day basis, instead of trying to, highlight rhetoric or put a soundbite out there, some shock value, some shock treatment, And so the New Black Panther Party is very, very much grassroots oriented, mm-hmm. and very, very communal or community oriented. And so on a day-to-day, we work to serve the needs of our people, basic needs of our people. Right now, we have a campaign, we have two campaigns out there. One is called the National Committee to Overthrow Poverty, which is a community collective that is designed to take Black men and women from different backgrounds, different points of view, different ideological perspectives, and pull us together as a committee in different segments of the United States, and to combat the issues of our community. As I said, about technological poverty and educational poverty, and what I said about informational poverty, and what we're saying about moral poverty and spiritual poverty and political poverty. All of that is terrorism. When a people don't control their own environment, they don't control their own destiny, they're subject to another people. They're subject. They're made to have to fulfill someone else's dream and fantasy. And so we are the victims of terrorism. The original victims of terrorism is us. And so we have a national committee, to overthrow poverty in all of its forms, especially in specific economic poverty. Because for the most part, when you ask people to get involved in their own destiny, they start talking to you about needing a job. I need some money, I gotta make it, I gotta survive. And what they're saying is they have basic needs. And so they don't have time to focus on self-determination. They don't have time to focus on doing what's necessary to establish something of your own, because they're thinking about right now. So the New Black Panther Party and our national chairman, Minister, under his leadership, Minister Ashimi Nzinga, we have organized a national committee to overthrow poverty, to combat the issues of our people in all of its forms. And that includes dilapidated housing. We're talking about homelessness. Like I say, we're talking about people that don't have clothes, don't have a bite to eat. We're talking about people that don't have transportation, all of that. We want to overthrow poverty. We don't want to just exist with poverty. We don't want to be side by side with poverty. We want to overthrow the poverty. So that's campaign one. Campaign two is, it goes in tandem with the National Committee to Overthrow Poverty, but it's in specific dedicated to the G's, or people who are in what's called the street tribes, the so-called gangs.
When you say street tribes, because many people do not understand that concept, can you break that down a little bit more?
Sure, because we don't politically say gangs. I say that just in communication, but politically, we're not saying gangs because historically, it hasn't been our people that ganged up on one another. Historically, we were the ones running from gangs.
That's true.
Running from the night riders and the mobs. We were the ones that were running from the patty rollers, and the later bounty hunters. That was us running.
That was us.
So we're not the original gangs, so we don't politically say gangs, but we say street tribes, street organizations, or street families, because most of these brothers and sisters are men and women who, in a lot of cases, come from broken homes, broken families. Some don't, but many of them do. And they were raised by the streets, found protection in the streets, or found the love and security that they were looking for in the home, in the streets. And they have clicked up together as a street family or a street unit. And of course, being a part of one family puts you at odds with another family in the street. Because if I'm banging Red, for example, you know, and I'm out there doing my thing with Red and another family got Blue, then that puts us, when we don't have self-knowledge, that puts us at odds. You know, so if somebody does something to one of my family members, then my duty out there is to respond, you know, with force. And so you have this kind of back and forth thing that's happening in every major city in America, and what they call the ghettos or hoods. And so that's why we use the term street tribe, because just like what you have in Africa, in certain parts of Africa, with the tribal battles that are going on, and we know that in both cases they're instigated, you know, instigated situations by higher forces. But you know, just like you have in Africa, where they're fighting over territory, fighting for you know, resources, and fighting for different things, you have the same thing here in America. Is what they call the, you know, the street tribes and gangs and whatnot, what have you. So that's why we use that term. It's the same scenario, just in here in the States. But we're organizing them and working with them to put some method to the madness, and to make it habitable, so that our people don't have to exist in these terroristic zones, where they're worried about not only the next meal to eat, but if they'll make it back home from going to the store. You know, in some areas, black men and women just going to the store to get bread don't make it back home because they get caught in the middle of a crossfire. You know, or someone is you know, a victim or victimized, just trying to go get a bite to eat, or some cases taking care of their families. I know of other stories where men were coming off of the job late night and were gunned down on bus stations, you know, at bus stops, you know. So I mean, this stuff is senseless. But we understand in the new Black Panther Party there's gonna be contradictions. I'm not the stop the killing man. I'm not that one that's out there always saying stop the killing, because I understand that there's no magic wand to it. Number one, that everybody has to understand is that the government put crack in the community. The government put the hard drugs in the community. Certain segments of the CIA, you know, did that. We don't have, as Dr. Khalid said, we don't have no boats, we don't have no planes, we don't have no trains, you know, not in mass. We don't have that. Most of our people are having a hard enough time keeping their car from the repo man.
I'm trying to tell you.
Right? So we don't have that. So we know that there are higher forces that are putting the poison in today's time, the heroin, and you know, the mollies, and, you know, all these manufactured chemical weapons. We know that it's being used against us. Okay, so as long as those certain segments of government continue to pound our community with drugs, we understand that particular problem or contradiction will exist. And the fighting that results, or the infighting that results, as of people trying to scrape from the crumbs of capitalism, we understand that type of problem will exist. At the same time, it still must be regulated, because just because you're trying to fight for the crumbs in that kind of fashion doesn't mean you have to kill babies.
That's true. God.
It doesn't mean that, you know, you have to, you know, shoot outside of the schools. It doesn't mean that you have to threaten people who are going to church or going to mosque or going to wherever they go. You know, there are certain places that should be off limits, that we should have enough sense as warriors and soldiers, enough sense not to violate with war tactics, you know, or to place in a militarized fashion, you know. And so that type of sense in certain areas is not being exercised. And so we have to take responsibility as a community. We have to take that kind of responsibility as a community to take charge of our post. You know, and the new Black Panther Party has to take charge of its post. We have to be willing to step into the battle, you know, and quench the fire or coal the fire, you know, at least be able to keep it from burning those who it's not intended to burn, you know, because I don't want the next generation and the next generation after that to have to, you know, worry about the type of things we worry about today. You know, so it's called the Hood Generals Community Covenant, and the OGs are working with us, working with me, working with us, working with our national chairman to call in the youngsters.
So, who are some of the OGs that can you mention right now?
I'd like to keep them nameless at this time.
Okay. So, can we ever do another interview where you kind of mention them?
In due time.
In due time.
And the reason why I say that is because we understand that in 1992, when the first peace treaty was signed, the Bloods and the Crips on the West Coast, that there was involvement with the LAPD that worked to keep the rivalries going,
exactly.
keep the fight going. And so this time we don't want to give them that kind of fuel to know who's who and what's what. We'll keep that on an internal or a need-to-know basis or an as-to-know basis. But suffice to say, we're not doing this by ourselves, and we're not doing this alone, you know. And we need all the help that we can get. So the more of you OGs that are out there and hood generals that are out there, you don't have to be an OG necessarily, but the hood generals that are out there, we need your help in this effort. And we need to be able to protect our elders and our babies, our women, elders and babies in specific, in general. We have to protect them and really protect ourselves. So they're there, and in due time it'll be manifested. I mean, but you'll see it through the work.
Okay.
You'll see it through the action. But I don't want to put that out there before time.
Okay, I'll let you get away with that. That's fair. Okay, well, you mentioned these two upcoming programs that's going to be a part of the new Black Panther Party, but what is currently within the new Black Panther Party that you all are doing, that we are doing now, right now?
That's what we're doing right now.
But what other programs that you may have done in the past, or that other chapters are doing?
We have plenty of the staple programs that were called survival programs by the Black Panther Party, and it was considered survival pending revolution. Meaning that, you know, if everything went to hell and, you know, everything, if the ish hit the fan, as they say, that Black people would still be able to survive and make it. You know, so the food programs are still there. The clothing programs are still there. We need more areas to pick up the breakfast programs that were there, but the food programs and the free food giveaways are there. The free clothes giveaways are there. The community neighborhood cleanups is something that many chapters in the new Black Panther Party do, where they will get physical bags and rakes and brooms and everything else and physically clean up the neighborhoods. That's there. The busing to prisons program is there. And we have some chapters who are able to take families to go see their loved ones in prison. That's there. Other chapters have diaper drives where you have young single mothers or single fathers who may be at the wit's end with cash, you know, suffering from that terroristic poverty. And you have chapters that are putting Pampers on the bottoms of babies.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know, and there's other things, of course. The mentorship programs where we're dealing with the young men and women, that's there. African history classes or Black history classes is there. Other chapters have done things with the youth, certain youth sponsorship, training, basketball, boxing, what have you.
You have a scholarship program?
That's there. They're working on a scholarship program there in the Midwest. And they're developing that. We want to develop that to where it becomes a national thing where, as you matriculate through college or high school or what have you, that you'd be able to get a scholarship.
From the
new Black Panther Party.
Wow. Okay.
And help you out as you go on to get your education. So all of that's there and then some. And we're a developing movement. So day to day we're developing new things, and we don't want to just jock and copy what our predecessors did before us. We want to be able to create new programs that make sense for today's time, because not every area needs breakfast programs. Not every area needs, some of the older programs that were co-opted by the government to take influence away from the Panthers. We got to serve today's time. So that's what we're doing.
So when did the new Black Panther Party start? I know this is a daily question, but I still think it's important to our views because a lot of people do not understand that concept.
The new Black Panther Party began in 1989 in Dallas, Texas, founded by Aaron Michaels. It was co-assisted by Michael McGee, Black Panther member out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who formed the Black Panther Militia. There were founding members there in Dallas who did what they call thug and drug patrols and worked against the drug-infested areas, shutting down crack houses, and worked with political prisoners and brothers and sisters who were locked down. So many things that they did in the early days that just didn't make public news, because a lot of times the good stuff doesn't make the news if it's not sensationalized. So they worked with, Shaka Sankofa, and, they did things that, like I said, were unpoliticized or unpublicized. Worked with the school systems, stopped young Black students from being called racist names in the school systems, went to the school boards.
That's good.
In the early days, stopped the Ku Klux Klan from burning Black churches.
And this was just locally in Dallas, Texas.
Excuse me. In the Texas area. It was in the Texas area, Texas region. And so that's what happened.
Okay. And so I guess now can you bring into when Dr. Khalid came around and kind of what happened with that transition? Just a briefing of that.
I get this out of my throat. All right.
Would you like some water?
I'm fine. 1994, Dr. Khalid Muhammad was the victim of an assassination attempt, and he survived by the grace of God. And he, at this time, was under suspension from the Nation of Islam, and did not have too much support from the organization at that point. And so, due to our chairman now, Hashim Nzinga, who at that time was his national assistant, having connections out of Dallas, Texas, and knowing who Aaron Michaels was, knowing who the new Black Panther Party was, he's from Dallas, Texas. He knew that those brothers would be able to protect Dr. Khalid. Knew that they believed in armed resistance and self-defense. And after being darn near assassinated and not knowing where the assassination came from, you're gonna want some soldiers that can handle their business.
That's right.
If something happens, so that was the connection. Minister Hashim Nzinga hooking that thing up with Aaron Michaels, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, and that was the beginning there. And you would begin to see them at different events with Dr. Khalid. You'd see them holding posts. and stand in security with him and going different places with him. This is all as early as 1994, 95, and then they begin to network even more on down the road as it was clear that Dr. Khalid suspension in the Nation of Islam, as it appeared, would be indefinite, or that he wouldn't have the same kind of role in that organization that he had previously. The relationship had become strained or what have you. And so as he began to work more with those brothers out of Dallas, right about the end of 1997, early 1998, he was chosen to be the national chairman of the organization. And from that, he began to organize around the country, began to put the idea of Black Power into the youth. And as he'd always done with the music and the entertainers and the rappers and things like that, and spread this message and spread the work of the new Black Panther Party, and ultimately took it from a localized Southern regional organization and spread it across the nation as a national organization and really international organization. Of course, had successful Million Youth Marches from 1998 to the last one in the year 2000. And just did a lot to build this organization, produced the Black Power Manual, which is a set of instructions on how the organization should run, the uniforms, just put Black Power back. Dr. Khalid Muhammad is responsible for putting Black Power back on the minds and hearts of our people in North America.
That's important.
And, it came at a good time because it was a dying fight, the Black Power fight. The Black Power movement was a movement that was shelved after the Panthers and the Black Liberation Army and others were fought viciously, by the state and J. Edgar Hoover's COINTELPRO. Many people were scared to fight that Black Power fight. Didn't want to have that kind of fight anymore. So Dr. Khalid is responsible. Dr. Khalid Muhammad is responsible for putting Black Power back out there like it is. So all these cats today, all this, young cats today who's fighting this Black Power fight, we owe the Black Power general that and owe him that salute for what he did.
Okay, well, there is a very big controversial question because many people try to say about the death of Dr. Khalid. So do you have any information upon that? Because a lot of people say they can't find the information about Dr. Khalid's death. How did he die? Do you know?
The organization, it's a subject that has been rehashed over and over again, and rightfully so, because of the magnitude of what kind of man that he was. Okay, so we understand it. But the organization, right around 2004, released an internal document, which was the official death report that the organization asked officially was Dr. Khalid Muhammad assassinated. And it weighed the facts, weighed the facts of controversy that was surrounding him around the time of his assassination to the time of his death, and even after. It just weighed the facts and certain
attempted assassination.
Correct, attempted assassination. And it weighed the facts of certain characters involved who, for whatever reason, had some shaky dealings, or some shaky standings. It weighed the actions of even his family, certain family members, and nobody was excluded. And so the basic findings of the report, based upon the medical examination, based upon the physical, concrete evidence that was there to be used, was that Dr. Khalid Muhammad had a cerebral hemorrhage.
Which is, to the people that don't know,
which is where the blood vessels in the brain burst, or rupture is a better term, where the blood vessels in the brain rupture and the brain is bathed in blood. And so it was a well-known fact that Dr. Khalid Muhammad had high blood pressure or hypertension. And it was a well-known fact that he, at the last lecture that he had pneumonia.
Oh, really?
In his lung, he had pneumonia. And so those particular facts, if weighed, on top of the stress that Dr. Khalid Muhammad was constantly under from traveling and trying to build the organization and not having the support of his former organization, the Nation of Islam, and the stress of him being at odds with his teacher and the man who he sacrificed the majority of his life to work with, and that's Minister Louis Farrakhan. We believe, based upon those factors and what we reported in our report, that was the official cause of his death, that he died from cerebral hemorrhage that was exacerbated by hypertension and a few other medical situations. But I mean, he wasn't a drug user, didn't drink alcohol, nothing like that. So that comes out to play. There was nothing found that would point directly to any evidence of foul play in terms of internally from the examination. And so that's the official report. But you know, being soldiers and being warriors, I mean, we always keep the possibility open, knowing what happened to Fred Hampton Sr., knowing, you know, what happened to so many others before him and before us. We always keep the possibility open that Dr. Khalid Muhammad could have very well been assassinated. I will never shut the door on that, but we just can't concretely prove if that happened, how it happened. And so we have to just go with the facts of what we have until we have better knowledge.
Okay. Wow, that was a strong question. Okay, so what types of benefits does one get if they join the new Black Panther Party?
Depends on what you mean when you're saying benefits. I mean, you don't get any pension, you know, you don't get any retirement plan. So this.
But what is, okay, when I mean benefits, what would a person off the streets get if they join the new Black Panther Party? What will, you know what I mean, what is the reward, or I don't want to say reward, but why would somebody join? Yeah, I mean, people come for different reasons, you know, to be honest. But in general, the basic answer is you get dignity. You get a sense of dignity. So the benefit would be dignity.
You get dignity. You get a knowledge of self, self-worth, self-respect. And you're able to exercise your natural warrior spirit. We believe that all Black people are warriors by nature. We come from a warrior people, you know, a genius people and a warrior people. And so, you know, especially under these conditions, most of our warrior spirit is quelched. Many of the warrior children who, you know, are in public schools, their spirit is drowned or quelched. And so we nurture the warrior spirit here, and we provide you with a platform to not only exercise your warrior spirit, but exercise your spirit in a way that gets results for yourself and for our people. Whereas, you know, even with the street tribes or street formations, as we were talking about, that as warrior-hearted as many of them are, that most of the fight that they're fighting is against their own people. And so we still end up in the same circle, in the same mess, right back to square one. That none of the issues that caused me to fight you or you to fight me, none of that's solved.
That's true.
See? So in the new Black Panther Party, when you're fighting and when you're able to exercise your fight, you're able to, as we say, eradicate issues. You're able to overthrow poverty, for example. You know what I mean? You know, we're able to overthrow the slum lords, you know, to provide decent housing for our people. Um, so you see results,
Okay.
and so you get in the new Black Panther Party results in an organized way. We teach you how to organize to get results in your life first. You know, because we can't organize the world till we organize ourselves. So we need men that, you know, will be good fathers, and women that will be good mothers, and good husbands and good wives, and just good men and women in general, good people, you know. Um, and then you organize the world. You know what I'm saying? Or organize your community first. Organize your community, then you organize the nation, or build your own nation, build for self, build and get land, territory, excuse me, institution. You do all of that, and then it spreads to the world.
Okay. Those are great benefits if you know what you're doing. Okay. So I didn't really ask because you was breaking down a lot of questions so far that I really, but you touched on it, so I'm gonna bring it around. So what are the objectives of the new Black Panther Party as well as the theology?
The objectives, just to sum up our objectives, is land, bread, clothing, housing, and peace, and justice. Um, we answer that with the 10-point program that details us wanting freedom and the power to practice self-determination and destiny of our own people. We answer that by wanting full employment, you know, for our people. We answer that by wanting an end to the biological and chemical warfare that's targeted at our people, wanting an end to police brutality and the murder of black people. We answered that by wanting tax exemption, you know, wanting an end to the racist death penalty as applied to our people. We want that by our people not being sent to fight wars of foreign aggression against people who've never done anything to us. You know, our people exempt from military service. You know, we run it down on a 10-point program, but it breaks down to land, bread, clothing, housing, justice, and peace. And so, as an ideology, which is a good thing to know because many people don't know what we believe.
That's true.
But as an ideology, we are fundamentally black nationalists, which means that we believe in land and territory of our own, that we don't believe that we should be begging people or begging white people or begging anybody for that which we can have for ourselves. We believe that we can unite, and we should unite and do for ourselves and have for ourselves. We believe that we should carve out some of this good earth to call our own, either here or elsewhere. We're also revolutionary nationalists, which means that we believe that everything in society should be revolutionized because most things in society are corrupt. So everything should be revolutionized, which means complete constructive change. And so we're revolutionary nationalists, we're black nationalists, and we are revolutionary Pan-Africanists, which means that we identify with the struggle of black people the world over. No matter where you find them at, we identify with the struggle of our people, and we identify with the struggle of third world people as well.
Okay. I know you did talk a lot about the national chairman of the New Black Panther Party. You also mentioned the chairman emeritus, Malik Zulu Shabazz. However, can you tell something about you, the National Chief of Staff, and your background, your political background, and what you did, and how you became the National Chief of Staff of the New Black Panther Party?
Sure. As a warrior, I would say that I'm a born freedom fighter. I come from Louisville, Kentucky. Son of a strong warrior woman and a wise street savvy man who produced me. That combination produced Chawn Castro Kweli. I had a warrior mother who did everything that she could to provide food, clothing, and shelter, as most black women do, but that she experienced in her lifetime prejudice from white people, you know, in different segments of the country, in different segments of certain jobs she worked with, and just an experience that she experienced. And so some of this, as she relates to me, she said she experienced while carrying me in her womb. And she said that she would talk to me in the womb and
Powerful.
pray to God, you know, that whatever I was when I came out, that I would be able to answer the hurt and pain that she felt from white folks and that she felt from other people, but mainly white people, as she was trying to provide for herself, you know. And so she would tell me that I birthed you to be a warrior for our people, and that the stuff that you do, these are her words to me, the stuff that you do, I made you to do it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's no surprise to her, you know. So, so I, you know, came into I knew about the new Black Panther Party early, but there wasn't really that much of an established chapter in my area. And so I didn't join the chapter right away. You know, I did some other things with some other organizations, which I'll leave nameless. You know, made my way around the political spectrum. You know, I had a background even in the church at one point. I was a musician at one point for a while even. Had interaction with Muslims and, you know, all kind of stuff that I did. Hebrews and Moors. I mean, I just had a full gambit of activity. And so there was no Panther chapter, but I would see these brothers, just a couple of them, just a couple of brothers who'd be in the community passing out flyers talking about we gotta have some revolutionary change. And I exchanged my information with them and didn't hear anything back. So some years passed, and I was at a point in my life where I was looking for something to get into, as they say. And I got a call from a brother in my city, and he asked me if I was still interested in moving and organizing with the new Black Panther Party. I said, absolutely. And from that moment on, we began to link up and go to the streets and go to the field and put in work for our people. And ultimately became the chairman over my city. Then went into Chicago, and I met attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz. This is around 2008, maybe 2009. Met attorney Shabazz, and we would talk and politic. I met yourself, you know, early, and you know, you all came to the city as you were the regional representative at that time. And so, you know, I had interaction. So, you know, after meeting attorney Shabazz and pretty much telling him that I could help the organization, me and him began to work together at that point. I began to work with you, you know, and you worked with me. And we all clicked up as warriors and revolutionary soldiers, later becoming the Minister of Communications. And I went to examine the organization because I had some organizational experience. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that we really didn't have at that point stable communication. We didn't have anything stable that kept us out there with the people. You know, the newspaper was kind of sporadic, and you know, we would always depend on Fox News or CNN or something that would really paint us in an ugly picture, you know.
Right.
And so
and it did.
And so we had started a radio broadcast via blog talk radio called Black Power Radio. Now, I'm not the first host of Black Power Radio. Some people think I am. I'm not. The first host of Black Power Radio is our National Minister of Justice, Imam Akbar. He is the first person, officially for the record, he's the first person to host Black Power Radio, put on the first shows. Sometimes he'd be in coffee shops. Sometimes he'd be out in his car, just anywhere trying to get a signal, trying to put this show on, right? And ultimately, you know, due to the demands of that broadcast, he couldn't keep it up. And
so what was your position during that time, or did you even have a position?
At first, I didn't have a position.
Okay.
And then later, I was Minister of Communication.
I thought you was local chairman.
Well, I said chairman first.
Okay.
I was
gotcha.
chairman first.
All right. I was just trying.
And then later, Minister of Communication.
Okay. National?
And no, just regional, I believe.
National.
I don't remember.
You were national minister. Communication.
I don't remember. Right. So due to the demands of the well, you are the Minister of Information, so you. But due to the demands of the broadcast, he couldn't keep it up, so he ended up turning it over to a man who used to be the Minister of Information before, Jamal Crawford, and it was co-hosted by a young brother who's locked down right now, our former young minister of youth in New York, youth minister for New York, Brother Hannibal Rashid.
He's national assistant as well.
And he also served as national assistant. Hannibal Rashid and free Brother Hannibal, of course, we should keep his name out there. And so they began to co-host together and run the show, run the broadcast. And ultimately, it fizzled out. And so here we had a broadcast that was being used to keep the message of the movement out there, that we didn't have anybody steady who would keep the thing going.
Go ahead.
And so that being said, I was asked by Attorney Malik Shabazz to carry on the broadcast. He asked, would I carry on the broadcast? And I said, yes, I would. And so I began to do the broadcast. And man, them broadcasts it was a mess.
The earlier days.
God forbid any of you all ever checked my archives.
Oh, yeah, I did some of those myself.
The early broadcasts of Black Power Radio, I'm going to say they were well-intentioned broadcasts.
True.
But they just were not organized.
It was rough.
You know, we really were trying to get this out there to the people, but you know, we just didn't have that kind of experience. But I will say that experience became the best teacher, because as we continued to do the broadcast, we got better. We began to have variety on the show. Later, we would have other kind of co-hosts, and you co-hosted for a while, and Sister Fasami, who came on, rest in peace, she co-hosted for a while. And when we just had some people that was involved with it. Then we began to get guests, and of course Attorney Shabazz would come on every Monday night that he could, and he would teach and light the airwaves up that way. And then we began to open the radio airwaves up to different people who may not have been in the party, but were notable people, or people who were really doing something in their areas or in the world. I mean, we've had people on now like Jay Prince from Rap A Lot of Records, the president of that. We've had Life Jennings on, the singer, super songwriter, Grammy nominated Life Jennings, Lou Gossett Jr.
Yes, we did.
I mean, just on and on. I mean, I really don't even want to run the roll down, but I mean, we just had some serious people on.
And so at that time, what position did you move into at that time?
From national, well, would you say National Minister of Communications? I end up becoming the national spokesman. I mean, which is obviously the next step after national communications.
Right. How could you not?
I became the national spokesman for the new Black Panther Party, and Attorney Malik Shabazz, and it was a big deal for me. I really believed that I could help the mission by keeping a credible voice out there, and a factual voice out there with what we were doing, with so much propaganda coming at us from every angle, you know, and so I, you know, worked hard to defend us in the organization.
Oh, you had to work hard.
And defend him. And I believe that God and the ancestors blessed us with, you know, success in doing that, as we were able to beat back a whole lot of propaganda against us, you know. And so I was national spokesman, and up until last year, 2013, where I became national chief of staff.
Okay. All right, you already kind of broke that down, so I'm not going to have you to regurgitate that again. And then you mentioned Jay Prince, but what a lot of people have been noticing on social media is that the new Black Panther Party has really began to work with a lot of well-known rappers. Could you please explain that philosophy, if you will?
That comes from Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who you used to see with X-Clan, see him with Public Enemy, see him with Ice Cube, you know, you see him with Tupac Shakur and others. I mean, he understood that even if we packed a venue of, say, 5,000 people, and gave eloquent speeches and we organized them into different groups and different things, that with one rap tape at that time, they didn't have all that MP3 and stuff back then. They just had cassette tapes.
Exactly.
You know, and later had CDs, you know. Mm-hmm. So with one rap tape or with one rap CD, you'd be reaching 10 million, 20 million, 30 million people, you know, and on and on. And so he understood that the rappers or the hip hop generation, that they had the ear of the people and the ear of the young in particular, that the young were listening to the rap music to, you know, get the latest fashion, latest style, the latest slang, you know. Young men were listening to the music to try to find their manhood. Women were listening, young girls were listening to it to try to figure out what kind of woman they was going to be, just by the music, you know. Right. And so he understood that if he put the message of Black power, self-determination, you know, revolutionary messages in the music, that it would reach that audience. And so, you know, we being students of his and learning that example and following that example, you know, when you see us with, you know, certain entertainers, certain well-known, notable men and women, it's not because we're trying to, you know, be fans or, you know, groupies, even though we may be fans. Some of us may like some of the movies or music or what have you, but it's more for the purpose of, you know, influencing the nation, influencing the people, you know, getting the message through that artist or entertainer to the people, you know, and sometimes even having to drop the message in that entertainer's ear because they like to learn too, and they want to know too. They want to know what's happened so that they can write about it and influence and inspire and direct. So that's what that is. That comes direct from Dr. Khalid Muhammad. Okay.
All right. So you pretty much already answered the next question, which was, I'll go ahead and tell you, which was on the terms of the influence of hip hop. So you pretty much covered both questions. Okay. I should have asked at the same time. So I guess the last question would be, what type of influence or impact do you think that Dr. Khalid Muhammad had on the Black Power movement in general?
Dr. Khalid Muhammad ended up being labeled the Black Power General because he set a legacy and a standard of no compromise. Mm-hmm. You know, the kind of man that he was, I mean, he, you know, at any given time, didn't matter where he was in the world, his message was consistent. You know, his message of self-reliance, self-help, self-determination, this is your enemy, you know, it's consistent. He didn't bend on it, you know, and we see a lot of that today in 2014. People bending on their message. They one way today, they another way tomorrow, they another way the next day. And Dr. Khalid Muhammad was straight down the middle. Just consistent. So he, to us, becomes the standard bearer. You know, he becomes the standard bearer of success, and the standard bearer of black manhood. You know, also he not only was a lecturer, you know, in terms of a intellectual or an educated man. He was in accelerated classes in school and all this type. You know, he's an athlete, some football player, but he was a man who was in the streets, nose to nose with the police.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nose to nose with Ku Klux Klan who were trying to mock James Byrd, Dragon. You know, those who were trying to burn the black churches. Nose to nose with you know, with devils and demons. I mean, just nose to nose. He was a man who would come right from the lecture and go right to the streets. He was also a type of man who, you know, would work with the gangs, and the gangs respected him. Street tribes respected him. You know, he would take $100 bill, put the $100 in the pocket of the homeless man. You know, he'd sit there on the stoop and talk with the young man suffering, a woman suffering from HIV and AIDS. You know, he, you know, would ride nice. You know, because at one point he was pushing a Rolls Royce. Early on, early '90s or so, he'd get out the Rolls Royce in the hood and go talk to the people. You know what I mean? He was a real revolutionary. He fought in the late '70s with General Idi Amin. You know, against the white man there in Uganda, you know, with armed struggle. Had ties with the Pan-Africanist Congress of Tanzania like we do today. He had that then, back then. You know, he was a strong, staunch defender of Minister Farrakhan. No matter what people think about it, out of a Minister Farrakhan, you know, Dr. Khalid made you respect Minister Farrakhan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the Nation of Islam. So, you know, and he did the same thing for the New Black Panther Party. He made people respect the New Black Panther Party. So, no matter how you slice it down the middle, Dr. Khalid Muhammad was the shining example of black power,
Okay.
you know, in terms of representation. And so now it's on us, you know, as the students in the next generation to take it to the next level, you know, because he accomplished his mission. You know what I'm saying? And even though he didn't get to fulfill everything he wanted to fulfill, he was able to manifest things that were in his head, you know? And so we just have to continue to push and to manifest the rest of the vision.
So, I'm sorry I lied. I did say that was the last question, but one more. What would you like to say to the new people coming aboard the New Black Panther Party? And how can they register, and what do you expect out of them, and what do you I know that's several questions, but it's kind of related. And how do they register?
For the new people who are coming into the New Black Panther Party, I want to tell you to commit your life to it. We don't want you to be in and out. It's not a revolving door. It's not something that you can be lighthearted with, you know, because in doing this kind of work, you got a lot of people who really depend on you. And a lot of people who, you know, are looking to see what you're going to do, because as Huey P. Newton said about the Panthers of yesterday, that the Panther is like an ox to be ridden, you know, by the people, you know, onto liberation. And so got a lot of people who, you know, you got to carry on your shoulders. There's a lot of people who we have to be able to give an example to, revolutionary example to. And there's a lot of people who, you know, don't know what to do in this hour, you know, and they look to the New Black Panther Party for guidance during troubled times. And so you got to be committed to it, and you have to work to see this program completed. You know, it's a protracted struggle, so it's not something that's going to happen overnight just because you register and sign on with the organization. It's a protracted struggle. This thing been going on since 1555 and before.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
You know, and so we're carrying on the legacy from then. You know, not only from then, but the Panthers of yesterday, because they didn't get to finish the movement. They didn't get to complete the mission. You know, political prisoners who were locked down and victimized by COINTELPRO. You know, there's a lot of people who are dependent on what we do today in 2014, and we make a lot of what they did relevant, you know, in today's time. And so for the new people coming in, take it serious, be dedicated to the fight, be dedicated to the mission, be dedicated to the struggle, study, read, study your lessons, you know, and I mean that by the Black Power Manual, study the lessons of history, you know, study revolutionary organization, study formation, study how you bring about revolutionary change. Study how America did it with the American Revolution, as Malcolm talked about, Minister Malcolm X. You know, or the Russians, how the Russians did it. Study them. You know, study the Kenyans. Study the Chinese. You know what I'm saying? Study the Cubans. Study how people, when they were in conditions that were maybe somewhat similar to ours, or they were oppressed in their own way, study how they changed their condition. You know, because we'll have to do some of that and then some, you know. But take it serious, read, study, and apply. You know, don't just be, as they say, a couch gangster or a couch soldier, a revolutionary, armchair revolutionary, a Facebook warrior, a keyboard warrior. Get out here in the streets. Let's, you know, try it and see if it works. See what works and see what don't work. Challenge the conditions. Challenge some people. Challenge yourself. You know, stand on it. Defend it.
So how do they join them? That's the question about it.
The way to join is to go to newblackpanther.org. Go to the website, and you'll be able to get a registration form there on the website and a pledge card and instructions on how to turn that in and where to turn it in at. You can email us at newblackpantherheadquarters@gmail.com, and we'll send you out registration information about the organization. Any of our social network pages, any Panther anywhere should be able to.
What's the social on Facebook?
I mean, there's different ones though, you know. Mine, of course, Chawn Castro Kweli. Yours, Amir Sankofa Kweli. I mean, there's all kind of Facebook pages Panthers have, you know. But technically, go to the official New Black Panther Party campaign page. It's called the official New Black Panther campaign page on Facebook.
That's important.
Or New Black Panther 1 at twitter.com. New Black Panther, that's NEWPANTHR, number 1, at twitter.com. And we're all out there. So you can find us, but chiefly newblackpanther.org. And we need more brothers and sisters to take this mission to your neighborhoods, you know, take this program and develop a program. We want to develop more chapters and make more of a difference. You know, we have a bigger reach with more people and more capability. That means more talent that comes to the organization and more that we can do. We don't think we have all the answers. You know, I don't think we have all the answers in terms of everybody that's here, but collectively we have all the answers. So the more people that we have, the more brain power that comes in, the more talent that comes in, the more resource that comes in, the more we can put out and the more that we can do. And so, you know, we're going to keep the flame burning and keep the fight going until this thing reaches critical mass and every part of that program is reached, you know. And so newblackpanther.org, call the number 347-903-0886. Again, 347-903-0886, and they'll answer you at the headquarters and register right away. The answer is not Democratic. The answer is not Republican or Republican. The answer is Panther. For black people, the answer is Panther.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, brother, for taking time out to interview with us.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much, and I want to thank you for the job that you're doing with the National Ministry of Information and keeping the proper perspective, the new Black Panther Party out there for our people to have and keep the fight going and you know, keep the visibility up for the people to see who we are and what we about so we can clear the confusion, because when there's sunshine, when the sunshine and the beams of the sunshine breaks through the fog, people can see clearly.
That's right. All right. Well, Black Power.
All right. Black Power.
Black Power.
From the poplar trees. Blood on the leaves.
Produced by the Crush.
Blood on the leaves.
I am a god. Follow me. At the Crush. THECRXS.
From the poplar trees.